Spring had barely settled in. The snow was gone, but the ground still held the chill. I stepped outside with a mug of coffee, expecting nothing but silence and birdsong. Instead, I saw her, a full-grown bear, at the far end of the yard, standing there like a statue, but shaking. She wasn't growling, wasn't charging, just trembling, and in her jaws, dangling limp, was a cub. I froze. It wasn't fear, not exactly. More like instinct pulling in two directions. One voice said, "Run." The other said, "Stay." And for some reason, I stayed. She took a slow step forward. Then another. And then she stopped, lowered her head, and placed the cub on the ground, as gently as if it were her heart. Then she looked at me, not like an animal, like something older, wiser. The cub didn't move. I took a step, then another. My boots crunched the gravel, but she didn't flinch. When I got close enough, I knelt. My hands hovered for a moment, then touched the cub. Cold, too cold. But there it was, a breath, weak, shallow, but real. I looked back at her. She didn't move, didn't blink. I wrapped the cub in my flannel overshirt, held it close to my chest, then turned and walked toward the house. She didn't follow. I didn't speak. And something told me we had just entered something neither of us could undo. I brought him inside without thinking. There was no plan, just urgency. The door clicked shut behind me. I laid the cub on a blanket near the fireplace and turned the heater up to full blast. He didn't move, not even a twitch. His body was cold. So cold it felt wrong to the touch, like he'd been away from warmth for too long. I wrapped him tighter, added another layer over him. Then I filled a bottle with warm water and slipped it under the blanket next to his belly. His chest barely rose. But it rose. I sat beside him on the floor, unsure what to do next. Every few seconds I'd place my hand on his side, just to feel that faint movement, as if losing track of it would mean losing him. Outside through the narrow window, I could see her, still there, still watching. She hadn't moved since I took him. I picked up my phone, dialed down again. No answer. I tried Sarah, wildlife rehabber. We'd worked together once on a fox release. She picked up. "It's Mike," I said. "I've got a bear cub, injured, barely breathing. The mother brought him." She went quiet. "You serious?" "Very." "Okay," she said, voice shifting to all business. "Keep him warm. Don't feed him yet. Check for bleeding. I'll see if I can get to you." I ended the call and looked back at the cub. Blood. His front paw. Not gushing, but steady. I pressed a clean rag against it. He flinched. The smallest motion. But it was something. His nose twitched. I didn't speak. Didn't breathe. Then another twitch. He was in there. Deep but not gone. I pressed the cloth tighter. Changed the bottle. Pulled the blanket snug. Through the window, she hadn't moved an inch. We were both holding on. And for now, that had to be enough. The hours passed like fog. He was wrapped in everything I had. Blankets, towels, even an old sleeping bag I dug out from the back closet. The heater hummed nonstop, filling the room with dry warmth. Still, he shivered. His breathing was shallow but steady. A good sign. I clung to it like a lifeline. The bleeding from his paw had slowed, but it hadn't stopped completely. I changed the cloth, dabbed the area gently with warm water, and kept the pressure light. He didn't flinch this time. Outside the window, the sky dulled to gray. She hadn't moved, not once. Her shape was a fixed presence at the tree line, waiting, watching. It didn't make sense. None of it did. I called Sarah again. "Still with us?" she asked. "Barely, but yes." "Any change?" "Breathing's better. Still cold. Still weak." "Then don't stop. You're doing the right things." She promised she'd try to come by nightfall. I knew it wasn't a guarantee. When I hung up, the cub stirred. Just a flicker. A twitch of his back leg. I leaned in, watched, waited. Then a soft, broken noise came from his throat, like a whimper crossed with a breath. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like an hour. "You're here," I whispered. He shifted again, curling tighter into the warmth. His paw brushed the hot water bottle. He was still shaking, but something in him had returned. I kept the heater going, changed the bottle again, sat back down beside him. Through the glass, she remained motionless, but not absent. She was still part of this. Her silence louder than any sound. That night, as dusk crept in, I turned on only one lamp, kept the room quiet, watched the cub sleep, and I realized whatever this was, whatever it became, I was in control of it. I was just part of it now. Same as her, same as him. By the next morning, I couldn't sit still. He had survived the night, but barely. The trembling had stopped, replaced by an eerie stillness. He was breathing, yes, but too shallow, too slow. I wrapped him up again, tighter this time, and put in the crate I'd use for hauling firewood. Then I carried him to the truck. She was there. When she saw me open the truck door, she took 2 steps forward. Not aggressive, just alert. Her ears twitched. Her mouth opened slightly, like she was about to make a sound but change her mind. "I'm not stealing him." I muttered, "I'm trying to save him." She didn't move after that, just watched as I drove off. The clinic was over an hour away. I called ahead, gave no details, just told them I was bringing in a bear cub, injured. I got a lot of silence on the other end. By the time I arrived, they were waiting out front. Jesus. One of the techs said as I carried the crate inside, "Where'd you find him?" "He was brought to me." "What do you mean?" "His mother brought him." They stared at me like I just said aliens dropped him off. Inside the vet, a woman named Clara I'd met once before didn't waste time. She pulled the cub out with gloved hands and set him on the exam table. "Puncture wounds," she said immediately. "Deep, left front leg. And here, bruising on the ribs. Maybe internal bleeding." "From what?" "Another bear, most likely. Big male. Happens sometimes. They kill cubs to get the females breeding again." I looked away. They worked fast. 4 fluids, injections, antiseptic, pressure bandages. Someone shaved the fur around the wounds. All I could do was stand there. "He's lucky," Clara said after a while. "If he makes it through the next 12 hours, he's got a shot." She didn't ask again how he got to me. Maybe she believed me. Maybe she didn't. Didn't matter. What mattered was the fact that he was still here. And so was I. It was dark by the time we got back. The road home felt longer than before. Every bump in the dirt seemed sharper, every turn more narrow. I kept checking the crate beside me, listening for his breath. Slow and steady. Still there. When I pulled into the clearing, the headlights swept across the edge of the trees. And there she was, right where I left her. She moved as soon as she saw the truck. Not toward me, but back and forth, pacing, claws tearing the ground like she didn't know what else to do. Not angry, not wild, just unraveling. I parked and stepped out, cradling the crate like something holy. "I brought him back," I said. My voice cracked more than I expected. She stopped, frozen in place, eyes fixed on the small shape in my hands. I placed the crate on the porch, opened the lid, and stepped aside. The cub was still asleep, curled in blankets that carried the scent of medicine and metal. She came closer, slow, cautious. Her nose twitched, and then she let out a low, throaty exhale. I didn't know what to expect. Anger, joy, confusion. But what came was silence. A strange, peaceful silence. Like she'd waited for this exact moment, and nothing more. She didn't try to take him, didn't reach in. She just sat down, right there on the dirt, 5 feet from the crate, and stayed. I sat too, not close, not far, just within the same quiet. The night was still, the trees leaned in, and we waited together. Me, a man who didn't ask for any of this, and a bear who had no other choice. The cub didn't stir, but his breathing never faltered. She stayed until the stars came out, then longer. And I knew, whatever line we crossed, none of us could go back now. So we didn't. We just stayed. The days that followed blurred together. The cub, still nameless, was stronger with each sunrise. He ate from a shallow bowl, slept in a tight ball near the stove, and even limped a few cautious steps across the wooden floor. That leg would never be perfect, but he was learning how to use it anyway. And outside, she never left. Every morning I'd peek through the curtain and find her in the same spot, lying down, breathing slow, eyes always on the house. She didn't demand. She didn't approach. She just existed there, as constant as the trees. But word got out. It started with a neighbor. I don't know who saw her first. Maybe someone cutting to the woods. Maybe a hunter with binoculars. But by the end of the week, I heard voices outside. People talking. Then one afternoon, a knock. 2 men, one in uniform, one with a clipboard. "We've had reports of a bear frequenting this property," the officer said. "She's not dangerous." I told him. "She hasn't come closer than 20 feet. That doesn't change the concern. Bears and people don't mix." "She's not here for people," I said. The man with the clipboard squinted. "What's she here for, then?" I hesitated. "Her cub." "You've got a cub?" "I've got a situation." They didn't like that answer. I brought them inside against my better judgment. Let them see for themselves. The cub sat in a corner, chewing on the corner of a cushion, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "This isn't a shelter," the uniform said. "I know. You're not licensed for wildlife." "I know that too." "Then what are you doing?" I looked out the window. She was still there. I'm doing what no one else would. They gave each other a look, then gave me a warning. They'd be back, with others, maybe with traps. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor with the cub nestled beside me, his breath warm against my side. Through the glass, I could see her. She didn't move, and I knew deep down that soon this fragile space we built would be tested. Not by her, not by him, but by everything else that didn't understand it. The next morning, I packed a bag. I didn't wait for them to come back with their vans and tranquilizer guns. I didn't want this story to end that way. Not with cages, not with force. So I made a choice. The cub watched me from the corner, head tilted, eyes calm but questioning. I knelt beside him, ran a hand along his back. "We're going for a walk," I said. "One last time." I carried him in the crate, same as before, covered him with a blanket, tucked in a canteen, some gauze, a bit of food, and then we headed into the woods. I didn't follow a path. I followed memory, to the ridge, past the stones, to where the trees grew thick and the world thinned out. She was there. I saw her before she saw me, or maybe she always knew. She stepped from between 2 pines, slow and deliberate. Her eyes went to the crate immediately. No sound, no tension, just attention. I set the crate on the ground and opened the lid. The cub didn't rush. He crawled out carefully, sniffed the air, then turned toward her. She came closer, nose low, ears forward. She sniffed him, his side, his head, his wounded leg. He leaned into her, let out a low, soft sound, something between a yawn and a sigh. Then she did something I didn't expect. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she turned away, not with him. Alone, she walked back into the trees, slow and steady, until she vanished into green. He sat there, watching her go, then turned back to me. I opened my arms. He came. We stayed there a while, just the 2 of us. The forest quiet, the birds holding their breath. And I knew she'd made her choice. And so had I. This wasn't about keeping or letting go. It was about what remained after the wild had trusted you, and what you did with it. 2 months later, the cabin doesn't feel the same. There's a quiet here now, not silence exactly, but something softer, like the place learned to breathe with someone else in it. The cub has grown. His limp is barely noticeable unless he's tired. He eats well, climbs furniture, tries to steal my boots, but he never crosses the line between wild and tame. He comes when he wants, sleeps when he chooses. Some nights he curls beside the stove. Other times, he stays near the window, watching the trees, waiting. Just like I do, she hasn't returned, at least not where I can see her. But sometimes Around midnight, I hear something. Branches shifting, a soft crack under weight, the air changing. He hears it too. His ears perk. He lifts his head, stares into the dark. But no one comes. Maybe she's gone. Maybe she's still out there, making sure from a distance. It doesn't matter. Not really. What matters is what she left behind. He's not hers anymore. Not really. And he's not mine. He belongs to the space between. To the wild that trusted a man once. And to the home that opened without asking questions. I don't know what happens next. Maybe he'll leave one day. Maybe he won't. Maybe I'll always wonder if I should have done more. Or less. Or differently. But I know this. When I step outside in the morning and see him sniffing the air, tail twitching, eyes alert, I know he's alive. And when I sit on the porch at night and feel the breeze shift just slightly, I know she was real and that she chose this. Not because she gave up, but because she trusted. And maybe that's the rarest thing any of us will ever be given.